It was a bright Sunday afternoon in a quiet American town. The kind of day when families strolled through parks, bikers gathered at diners, and old veterans enjoyed the warmth of sunlight on their worn jackets. But that day, something happened that would shake the entire parking lot and teach a young influencer the harshest lesson of his life. The air was filled with the low growl of motorcycle engines as a group of bikers rolled into the parking lot of a roadside diner. These weren't just any bikers. They were part of a community known for respect and loyalty, men and women who believed in protecting the weak and honoring those who served. Across the lot, an elderly man named George Harlan, 78 years old, struggled to get out of his faded blue sedan. His knees trembled and his cane barely supported his frail body. His jacket bore a few patches, a reminder of his time in Vietnam and a lifetime of sacrifice that most had forgotten. But not everyone saw him with respect. Just a few cars away stood a young man named Tyler Knox, a 24-year-old TikToker known for his outrageous pranks and street challenges. His videos were often filled with loud laughter, arrogance, and humiliation of random strangers, all in the name of views. He'd built his following by mocking others, convincing himself it was just entertainment. That day, he spotted George struggling near his car and saw what he thought was another golden viral opportunity. "Perfect," he whispered to his cameraman. "Let's give the followers some drama." He strutted across the lot, loud and confident, his designer hoodie and chains shining under the sun. The old man barely noticed him at first, until Tyler suddenly shouted, "Hey, Grandpa, you lose your way to the nursing home?" The cameraman laughed. George froze, his eyes uncertain, then lowered them. He didn't want trouble, but Tyler wasn't done. He kicked the old man's cane out of his hand, making it clatter across the pavement. George stumbled, landing hard beside his car. Tyler laughed louder, pretending to hold a microphone. "Ladies and gentlemen, the hero of the past just lost his balance. How tragic. His followers would love this. He was sure of it. If you believe in kindness, respect, and second chances, take a moment now, comment, share, and subscribe to support stories that remind us what truly matters. Because what happened next will restore your faith in humanity." As Tyler's cruel laughter echoed across the lot, he didn't notice the sound of approaching engines. Deep, powerful, synchronized like thunder rolling closer. A dozen bikers, dressed in black leather vests with insignias stitched on the back, had just parked their bikes by the diner. They'd seen everything. Among them was Jack Hammer Dalton, a towering man in his late 40s, with a calm yet commanding presence. He had served years in the Marines before becoming part of the biker community. When he saw George lying on the ground, his old jacket dusty, his cane broken, something inside him snapped. Jack's boots thudded across the pavement as he and the others began walking, then running toward Tyler. "Hey!" he shouted, his voice echoing across the parking lot. Tyler looked up, confused at first, then realized the group of leather-clad bikers charging toward him. His smirk vanished. "What's your problem, old man?" Tyler tried to act tough, but his voice cracked slightly. Jack didn't answer. Instead, he walked past Tyler and knelt beside George. "You okay, sir?" he asked gently, helping the old veteran to his feet. George nodded weakly, embarrassed. "I'm fine, son. Just some foolishness, that's all." But the bikers didn't see it as foolishness. They saw disrespect. They saw cruelty, and they weren't about to let it slide. Tyler suddenly felt a cold wave of fear as the bikers surrounded him. He tried to back away, but one of them blocked his path. The cameraman, pale and trembling, whispered, "Man, let's just go." But Tyler couldn't move. His arrogance had evaporated. Jack turned to face him. "You think it's funny humiliating a veteran?" he asked, his voice calm but filled with steel. "That man fought for your freedom. You film his pain for likes?" Tyler stammered it. "It was just a prank, man. Chill, I didn't mean—" Jack cut him off. "You didn't mean what? To kick a man who could be your grandfather, to treat service and sacrifice like a joke?" His eyes burned with fury. "You want views? We'll give you a show worth watching." Before Tyler could react, one of the bikers picked up the broken cane and handed it back to George. "Here you go, sir," he said respectfully. Another biker pulled out his phone and started filming. Only now, the lens was on Tyler. "Let's see how he likes being the star," one muttered. The crowd around the diner had started to gather. People came out, watching the confrontation unfold. Tyler's face turned red with shame. For the first time, the camera wasn't his ally. It was a mirror reflecting what he'd become. Then something unexpected happened. George, still shaking slightly, raised his hand. "That's enough," he said softly. "Don't hurt him. He's just lost his way." The old man's voice was frail, but his words carried more weight than anything else spoken that day. The bikers paused. Jack looked at George, surprised. "You're letting him go after that?" George nodded slowly. "When I was young, I thought strength meant fighting back. But time teaches you. Real strength is in mercy. He'll remember this day longer than any beating." There was silence. The words hung heavy in the air. Tyler, still trembling, looked at the veteran, at the man he had mocked minutes ago, and felt a deep shame twist inside him. He couldn't speak. For the first time in years, he didn't know what to say. George turned to him. "Son, you don't earn respect by humiliating others. You earn it by standing for something. Find something worth standing for." Then he picked up his cane and walked toward his car, limping slightly, but with his dignity intact. Jack looked at Tyler again, his tone softer now but firm. "You're lucky he's a better man than you are." Then he and the bikers turned and escorted George to his car, making sure he was safe before leaving. Tyler stood there, his camera still rolling. His followers had seen everything. Within minutes, the video spread online, but not in the way he'd imagined. The caption read, "TikToker mocked a veteran, then got humbled by bikers." The comments flooded in, not with laughter or likes, but with anger and disappointment. People called him a disgrace, a coward, a symbol of everything wrong with the new generation. He lost thousands of followers overnight. Brand deals canceled. His name became a warning rather than a trend. Tyler disappeared from social media for weeks. But behind the silence, something had changed inside him. A few days later, Jack and his biker group received an unexpected message. It was from Tyler. He asked if he could meet them at the diner again. They hesitated at first, but Jack agreed. When they arrived, Tyler was already there, without a camera, without his flashy clothes. He looked different, humbled. "I wanted to apologize," he said quietly. "Not online, not for views, just for real. What I did was disgusting. I didn't understand what it means to serve or to respect someone who has." He took out an envelope and handed it to George, who had joined them again that day. Inside was a donation receipt to a veterans rehabilitation center, under George's name. George's eyes softened. "That's a good start," he said with a faint smile. "But the real apology is how you live after this." Over the next months, Tyler began using his platform differently. He started making videos helping the elderly, supporting veterans, feeding the homeless. At first, people doubted his sincerity, but his consistency proved otherwise. He no longer sought fame. He sought meaning. His channel slowly rebuilt, not through shock value, but through compassion. One video showed him repainting an old veteran's house. Another showed him raising funds for disabled soldiers. In every post, he added the same message: kindness is the only thing that goes viral forever. Jack and his bikers stayed in touch. Sometimes they'd join him in his charity drives. They'd share a laugh over coffee, remembering how it all began in that parking lot. And George, he became something like a mentor to Tyler. The two met often, sharing stories about life, purpose, and redemption. One summer afternoon, as they sat on a park bench watching kids play, George said quietly, "You know, son, everyone makes mistakes, but very few turn them into lessons for others. You did that." Tyler smiled. "Because of you." George shook his head. "No, because you listened." When George passed away a year later, the bikers and Tyler organized a memorial ride in his honor. Hundreds of bikers rode together through the streets, flags fluttering, engines roaring, not in anger, but in tribute. Tyler filmed the ride, but this time the camera wasn't about views. It was about remembrance. He ended the video with the simple words, "To every hero we forget, may we never forget again." That video reached millions, not because it was shocking, but because it was pure. Viewers wept, commented, and shared it across the world. Tyler didn't just rebuild his career, he rebuilt his character. And it all started with a cruel mistake that turned into a powerful awakening. If this story touched your heart, please like, comment, share, and subscribe. Your support helps keep these real, emotional stories alive and reminds the world that kindness always finds its way back. Special request. Tell us in the comments, what's one act of kindness you've seen or done that restored your faith in humanity? Because sometimes The smallest spark of goodness can light up the darkest corner of someone's world.